Hey guys, this is week 10 of my series titled 52 Weeks of Reaper. Every week for 52 weeks, I'll be releasing a new video focusing on a key feature in Reaper. So for this week, we're going to be talking about local and portable installation. So let's jump right into it. So over here on the website, this is your download page. Up here, they show you when the last update was, and we're up to version 7.33, which was released February 2nd of this year. That's one thing with Reaper. The team over there constantly updates Reaper. They're constantly working on it, fixing bugs, improving things under the hood, and adding more features and plugins. So here we see all the different OSs that are being supported. So we got the Windows, Linux, we have Mac, and all the different flavors that need specific installation. So you got your Intel stuff here, and then your ARM-based up here. So one thing that people will always say about Reaper is that the install file is very small. So let me kind of address that. Yes, it is small. I think just about every DAW's installation file, the base installation file, is small. Where a lot of the other DAWs balloons in size is because it comes with a lot of sounds. That's what's going to make the installation package big, because they add a ton of samples in there, like one-shot samples, loops, and then some of their instruments are very sample-based. So if you have something like Contact, not to say Contact comes with an installation of a DAW, but if you look at something like Contact and then you add certain libraries to it, that's basically what some of these DAWs offer with some of their romplers that comes built in with the DAW. So all those sampled instruments, they're in some kind of format, whether it's in WAV or some weird proprietary audio format, but it's in a high quality format. So that's going to cause the overall installation size to balloon. But if you strip all that away from most DAWs, it's not going to be that big, because the actual program that they have to write, the coding language that they have to write for the actual program, it's just all text. So when it's all said and done, it's not going to be that big. So that's one of the reasons why Reaper's installation file is so small, is that you're not getting all these samples and all that stuff. You're just getting program files, literal coding program files. That's it. So you're just getting effects. If you get an instrument with Reaper, it's something that's generating sound from itself. It's not using any audio files. So this is why, and this is how they keep the size so small. So for Windows, we're at 15 megs download file. When I started using Reaper about almost 5 years ago, it was about 12 megs. With Mac, we see the bigger sizes over here. For the universal version, we have 26 megs. And for the Intel-based, we're at 22 to 20 megs between there. Linux is similar to Windows, where you're around 11 to 12 megs. So see, they also have for ARM-based Windows here, 12 megs. So you hit download the file. So one of the key things that I want to focus on today is the capability to install a portable version of Reaper. So I already have Reaper installed on this system, but I'm going to run it again because you can have multiple versions. And if you notice right here, we have this checkbox that says portable. So I'm going to check that. And then I'm going to browse. And I have a thumb drive here that I labeled Reaper. And I'm going to actually add a folder in that drive and call that Reaper and install it in that folder. Hit OK. Click next, and let's click next again and let it do its thing and come back to it. Okay, so now that that's done, we're gonna hit close, and it asks, do I wanna run Reaper right now? And I'm gonna say no for now, because I wanna look at some things and show you guys some things. So let's go to that drive, and here's the folder. So what it did was it put everything that's needed to run Reaper in this folder, which is contained within this thumb drive. So I can now take this anywhere on any computer, I would say Windows-based computer, and I can run Reaper right off of this thumb drive. So I'm gonna start Reaper now, and while that's starting for the first time, it's gonna take a little while because it's gonna start scanning my plugins. And I'm gonna talk, while that's happening, I'm gonna talk about some use cases and why you would wanna do this. So let's start that up, and while that's starting, let's talk about this. So the cool thing is you can install Reaper on anything like a thumb drive. You can install it to an SD card. You can use an SD card with an SD card reader and install it that way. You could install it to an external drive, kind of like this here, SSD. Any form of portable storage that you want to travel around with, you can install Reaper there. You can also install Reaper within your computer system, just in another folder. So one of the reasons why you might want to do that is you might want to troubleshoot something. You might be having an issue with your current installation of Reaper, and you want to test it out on just a raw, fresh installation to see if something within your configuration and your extensions is causing the problem. Or also if you're a coder and you're working on building something for Reaper, whether it be extensions or plugin, you might not want to mess with your base main installation, and you might want to test it out on, once again, a fresh installation of Reaper. Also, you might be working on a project, let's say a 5 or 10 song project, and you want that to be self-contained. You can actually have all of that on a portable drive, which we're gonna kind of look at some tips on how to set that up in a sensible way so that you can definitely be portable with it and not have issues when you go from one computer to another. I know personally I've had situations where I go to other studios, and there was a time where I used to, just to feel comfortable, install Reaper on their system because it's so light and fast. But also I have to go through configuration, because what I realize is my base setup in Reaper is so different from the default setup that even if I install Reaper for the first time on somebody else's computer, I realize that I'm kind of lost with navigating in Reaper because I've configured Reaper to work the way I work so much that it is totally different. So the navigation is different. Definitely my keyboard shortcuts are different. My mouse reacts differently. So even after I install it on somebody's computer, then I have to go grab my configuration file that has all my settings, all my extensions, all my keyboard shortcuts, all my tweaks that are unique to me on it. I can import that, but once again, that takes time. And then there's the installation of plugins. So when you do set it up, with some of the tips I'm going to show you, you can set it up in a way where all those things are already on that thumb drive or external drive, whatever you want to travel around with. So you can set it up where you have all the plugins you need. You can set it up where your configuration is already set up. You can set it up with your theme that you like to use. Everything already pretty much set up. And then also, if you have audio files that you use a lot, your sample packs, sample kits, one-shot samples, all those things, you can have all of that contained within the hard drive. So I'm gonna go over showing you just some tips. You don't have to do this, but just some tips on how to kind of set it up for that kind of use case. I always walk around with an extra thumb drive with Reaper installed and configured. I try to keep it up to date from like month to month or quarter to quarter because Reaper updates so much, and then my workflow is constantly evolving. Keyboard shortcuts are constantly being added, so I have to make sure that I keep updating that with a new configuration file. So here we are, Reaper is done opening for the first time. It ran a scan of all of my plugins, which I have arguably over 2,500 plugins, so it did take a while, probably about 5 minutes, scanning through all my plugins. So now that that's done, it automatically prompted for me to set up an audio interface. So let's do that. Let's go direct. It doesn't matter because I'm not going to play anything. So this is Bass Reaper, and let's maximize this. So this is what Reaper looks like by default. I know it looks different from what you've been seeing from me, but I use a specific theme that's pleasing to my eyes, and it helps me see and know where everything is. So one of the things I would definitely recommend, so it did scan for the path for my plugins, which I don't want, because most times I'm going to be 9 out of 10 times using this on a different computer. So what you want to do is make sure that all that is self-contained to the portable device that you are using, the portable storage device that you are using. So I would go into the preferences and come here to where it says VST. And I would come here and edit the paths. So left click on where it says edit paths, and I would remove all of these paths, and then I would add just one path. And the path would basically be on the thumb drive. So what I would do is back here on the thumb drive, let me make sure you guys see that. So the thumb drive called Reaper, I would create a folder either outside of this or inside this. It's up to you. You can actually create it within the plugins folder. I would create a folder for my VSTs. So I would create one for VST 2s and just put everything in there dealing with VST 1 and 2. And then I would create a VST 3 folder and then copy all of my VST 3s that I currently have on this system in there. And then run a new scan with this path as the paths to check out. So this path, and then the 2 new folders that I would create in here for VST2, which would have my VST2 and my VST1 plugins, and then add another path for the VST3 folder in here, which will have my VST3 plugins, and then run a scan, which would be just opening the browser, the effect browser, and then hitting F5. Or you can just go here on the effects and go down to scan for new plugins. See, keyboard shortcut F5. And then it would scan only those locations which is centralized to your storage device, your portable storage device, in my case, the thumb drive. Then the next thing I would do is within the thumb drive, I would create an audio folder for all of my audio samples that I'm going to be using, one-shot sample loops, things of that nature. And another setting that I would definitely set up is you go to File and go to Project Settings right here. You can also hit Alt Enter. I would go to the Media tab and make sure that within this option, I type in Media. Make sure that that's there, and that's going to always create a new folder called Media for every project within the project folder. And it'll record anything you record, any media you import, it'll always put it in that folder. So that'll just keep the projects within that thumb drive very organized. So once you have this up and running, you can go and set up your extensions repack extensions and your SWS extensions, which I talked about a couple of weeks back. I think it was week 3 or week 4. So I would definitely set that up for this, and then everything would be set up for this installation within here. So all your extension scripts would be in this folder so that you have all those things set up. So it's just making sure that you set up everything and make sure that it's unique to this portable device. And whenever you're running this portable version in Reaper, you would start it from here and then load your projects from there. So it's a very cool option to have to do a portable install. It has definitely helped me out in the past. So now when I go to somebody else's home studio or another studio and I need to plug into their system, I can just plug in that thumb drive, get Reaper up, and then all I have to do is select the audio device that they have on their system, and I'm pretty much ready to go. All my plugins are there, all my samples that I need, it's all self-contained on that drive. Like I have this new thumb drive, it's very tiny. It is a USB Type-C that supports USB 3.2 speeds, and it is 250 gigs in size. So this is something that I'm gonna be setting up as my new portable Reaper setup. Plug it in whenever I'm somewhere else, and I'm good to go. So that's it for this week, guys. It was a short one. Still very important, very cool feature to have. Reaper in portable mode, so you could be comfortable wherever you are doing some studio work. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Check back next week for the next installation in this ongoing series, 52 weeks of Reaper. As always, you'll see me in the next video.